Hello and welcome to gusmcdollgames. I'm Nick McDowell and today we are playing the second part of Weasel, the fifth mission in the NATO campaign in Naval War Arctic Circle. Naval War Arctic Circle is based on a hypothetical Great Arctic War set in 2030 and fought in the North Atlantic, Arctic, Baltic and the North Sea. The NATO campaign covers the Great Arctic War as experienced from the Northern Partnership and NATO alliances. In Weasel, I must defend Scandinavian land installations against suppression of enemy air defence or SEAD attacks. So from the last mission we have the enemy's surface action group who are coming out of the Gulf of Finland trying to get into the Baltic Sea. And we've launched some AMRAAMs against an enemy fighter here that's near the surface action group there, which is the Admiral Kuznetsov. These are MiG-29Ks. We've already had some land engagements. The enemy has fired a number of surface-to-surface missiles against our shipping. So I'll watch the MiG-29Ks who are being engaged by the AMRAAMs. And one of them's shot down, bringing our total tally to 9 aircraft out of the 20 we need to complete the mission objectives. The remaining MiG-29 pops flares and evades one of the missiles, but then is shot down by the other one. So as you can see, we've got a number of aircraft still on the plot here. We've got Aleutian 78s. These are refueling aircraft. Plus we've got some unidentified fixed-wing aircraft moving in. And my concern is these might be bombers who are heading directly towards our surface action group. Okay, we've got Gripens. Put them up a little bit of altitude, get the Raven radar going to see if we can spot any air threats in the Baltic Sea there, to the northeast of Gotland. And you can see our aircraft to the immediate east of Gotland here are still engaging the anti-shipping missiles. We've got some decent success, but they're running out of missiles. As you can see, these guys are down to their Mauser BK guns, so we'll just send them home. They're not really doing much good. The same with these guys. We'll send them straight home, and at this stage the surface action group is defending itself with its own missiles against the SSN-19 shipwreck missiles fired by the enemy fleet. And you can see those missiles there being engaged. Here's one of them. Okay, we've lost a Gripen, I think, to an enemy air attack. And there we go, we've knocked down one of the shipwreck missiles. And our own surface action group is taking care of that. Okay, back to Stockholm, and we've, as you can see, we've got some in-air refueling assets we can use. We can put them up there behind Stockholm so that no one crashes from lack of fuel. Okay, we've got a group in here who's running out of fuel. It's got full suite of AMRAAMs, so we'll try and get it to refuel from the tanker that we just launched. And that will give us greater persistence in the battle space. Going now to Ronneby, and we have 4 aircraft that are ready to launch, so we'll take 2 of those aircraft straight away, and we'll put them south of Gotland so that they can intercept those large bombers that are coming in from the northeast. Put another 2 in a patrol pattern as well. Okay, we've got this other grip, and we need to manually get it to refuel. We'll check the settings on our Boeing. We're happy with that. We'll get this one to turn on its radar. That will give us a bit more situational awareness of what's going on, particularly if there's any air threats that are coming out of the Gulf of Finland and towards us. At this stage, most of our air fleet is returning home, so we potentially have a bit of a pause that the enemy could exploit to attack us. So we'll get the towed array sonar activated. We've got a Thales Smart L radar that's activated as well. We'll activate the other sonar on this in case there's any subsurface threats that we need to worry about. We'll leave the Sea Giraffe off for now. Okay, we've lost a Gripen. We've unfortunately lost 2 Gripen to running out of fuel, and I think those were the ones that we had to constantly turn around in the last episode and get them manually to engage the missiles that were coming inbound. Okay, we've got an air threat that's just to the southeast of Stockholm, very, very close in. We'll get the Gripen to engage that straight away with its sidewinders. If we can. Sorry, he's going with his AMRAAMs. The other one's returning to base. We get him to engage. At the moment, we won't use the RBS units that are in vicinity of Stockholm Airport, just in case we need them later on to defend against land strike missiles. So we've got an AMRAAM heading out against that aircraft, and we'll leave that for the time being. Okay, we'll get these guys to return to home, back to Ronneby, but they've tanked up so that they're not going to run out of fuel on the journey, which is good. Don't need to lose any more aircraft to loss of fuel. So this is the Sukhoi T-50 racing to the east over the Baltic Sea, trying to escape the AMRAAM that is chasing it. And it was fired by this Jazz 39E Gripen. That one's returning to home. But we'll get them to do a quick patrol pattern over here instead. And we've shot down the Sukhoi T-50, bringing our tally to 11 out of the 20 aircraft we need to meet our objectives in the scenario. I'll move the in-air refueling tanker a little out of the way, simply because we don't want to leave it too close to incoming surface-to-air missiles. Okay, so at the moment the air plot seems clear, which doesn't seem right to me. We've got some Onyx SSN-26 missiles headed out from the enemy fleet. We can see the fleet here, the Admiral Kuznetsov group. And that's the aircraft carrier, which is the centre of this fleet. And that aircraft carrier group, of course, okay, we've still got some units we can launch out of Stockholm, but that aircraft carrier is leaving St. Petersburg and the naval base there, getting out of the Gulf of Finland and going into the Baltic Sea. So what we'll do is we'll set up some patrols, some air patrols with the available units we can launch out of Stockholm, and also, well, Ronneby doesn't really have much, but we do have an air-to-air refueling capability. We might put that out here. And that can be very helpful in terms of making sure that planes don't have to land simply because they're running out of fuel. So we've got that going into a patrol pattern slightly to the southeast of Öland and east of Ronneby. We'll speed up time a bit, see how things develop. Okay, and change the patrol pattern, intercept these Onyx missiles. We're still out of range. And we can see additional Onyx missiles being launched from that fleet, likely targeting our surface vessel. Okay, we've now detected another enemy, inbound enemy. We'll get our radar going so that we can detect more of these air threats. There's certain to be a number of them out there, but obviously we need air assets with radar coverage to be able to detect them. Otherwise, they'll be able to sneak up on us like that aircraft just did. Okay, it's a Sukhoi T-50 that's it's now running. It's got its afterburner on, and we'll see how successful it is in evading the AMRAAM that was just fired at it. And of course that Sukhoi presented a threat to the refueling aircraft. And it's now shot down, bringing our tally to 20 aircraft out of the 20 that we need for our objectives. So we'll move this pair of aircraft to the northeast to get into an intercept position with the Onyx. Now that our radar is activated and we're getting closer, we've now detected a helicopter in advance of the fleet. We'll get these aircraft moving over here to try and get their radars on to try and detect, because last thing we saw there was some large aircraft heading inbound from the northeast. So we want to see if we can detect and intercept those. So the Admiral Kuznetsov group here is continuing to launch missiles, although not at present. And we'll see if we can speed up time a bit then and check out what these guys are waiting for. Okay, they've reached their patrol position, so what we'll do is we'll take both of them and give them a patrol position to the entrance to the Baltic Sea. And again, this can intercept any aircraft that are coming from either from the airbase or from the Kuznetsov group. Speeding up time. Okay, we've got another air detection. And we see there's a missile launch already out from one of our Gripen. Okay, the Pyotr Veliki, the Kirov class cruiser here in the Kuznetsov group. And we've detected another helicopter which is supporting that fleet. Okay, speeding up time a bit, and we'll see the Sukhoi T-50K here who's running from the AMRAAM missile. Heading back, it's got its afterburners on. And we'll see what it can do. And it's turning to evade, going evasive. AMRAAM's still tracking it in, and it's shot down the Sukhoi T-50K. So that's 13 aircraft in our tally. Okay, what we're going to do is we bring those other 2 aircraft into a better intercept position. The Helsingborg still needs protection from these Onyx missiles, so we get this group of aircraft to start launching AMRAAMs against these Onyx missiles, the P-800s. And try and prevent them from impacting with the Helsingborg, which really can't defend itself against this kind of an attack. Okay, expending all of our AMRAAMs here and against this final target of the SSN-26 Onyx missiles. Okay, so we've got a number of AMRAAMs out against those missiles. We'll see if we can engage some with Sidewinders as well once we get within range. Although when we get to that point, the Helsingborg really is under a lot of threat because it doesn't really have an ability to defend itself if these AMRAAMs are not successful in shooting down the group. So we'll target this first group with the Sidewinders, and this other group of aircraft. Okay, selecting them. They've got. We will get them into a better intercept position as well because they've still got AMRAAMs that they can use to target this missile groups. As well as being able to put an AMRAAMs against a helicopter, because as you know, I do like to knock these helicopters out where I can, simply because it denies the enemy some situational awareness. Okay. So the Onyx seem to have disappeared from the screen. I'm not sure what has caused all of them to disappear. But nonetheless, it's a good result for us. We'll get our aircraft going up a little bit higher. We'll make sure they've got their radars activated so that we are detecting whatever it is that's out there, and we don't have any attacks creeping up on us. Okay. Speeding up time a little bit. Okay, now we've detected a couple of fixed-wing aircraft groups. These are the ones that we saw earlier, brazenly crossing Estonian territory from St. Petersburg, presumably to attack our surface action group. This is one of the things, this battlefield geometry of borders and territories is not something that Naval War Arctic Circle simulates to any great extent, so it's perfectly realistic within the game that these aircraft will cross neutral territory, whereas in real life that would be a very big deal, of course. And violation of another country's neutrality is not something to be done purely for tactical reasons. Okay, so we've got some AMRAAMs launching against those large aircraft groups. We'll get them in a chase. These guys as well, get them in a chase. And we'll try and shoot down these aircraft and also detect if they've launched any missiles. We now have a Kamov Ka-27 helicopter that's in advance of the fleet, and we can shoot this one down as well. That's always a good outcome for us. Okay, it looks like we've detected or identified these as Tupolev Tu-22s, which are bombers that will no doubt try and launch against our surface action group. So we really do want to either shoot these down or at least achieve a mission kill by forcing them to escape from our missiles and hopefully run out of fuel and need to return to their base. But most likely is we're going to really need to engage them with AMRAAMs and shoot down as many of these Tupolevs as we can, because they're a real threat to our surface fleet. Okay, we've knocked down one Tupolev. That brings our total tally of aircraft to 14. An AMRAAM coming up on this one here, and this Tupolev Tu-22 is also shot down. We have two more in the second group. We have two more Tupolevs that we need to engage. The AMRAAMs are coming in. Okay, puts flares out. We've shot down another Tupolev to the rear, I think. One more to go, but you can see they've likely launched already, so we're going to have to apply some of our AMRAAMs to shooting down the missiles that will otherwise target our ships. And you can see there's quite a few missiles out from these. So that's now a bit of a priority to do something about that. At the same time, we can still target the remaining Tupolev, which we'll do, but we need to also get this missile group attended to, otherwise it will cause a lot of problems for us. Not quite clear from its trajectory whether it's going after the ships or in fact for Runneby Air Base. Nonetheless, we'll continue to target that missile group until we're comfortable that it doesn't present a threat. Looking at the trajectory of it, does look like it's going for Runneby. And we've got another 26 minutes till we can launch another defensive fighter group, so that'll be interesting for us. We might need to engage with the surface-to-air missiles from the surface action group in order to defend the airfield. ESM's short range, but probably there for the SM2s. Okay, we really want to knock out as many of these missiles as we can. Not quite sure what these missiles are, but okay, there we are. We've got their Kent C missiles, or Rudiger KH-555s. So I'm thinking these are probably going against a land target. As many of them as we can shoot down would be good. Okay, these guys have fully expended their missiles, so we'll send them back to home. They're not going to do any good without any missiles or means of attack. These guys are down to 4 sidewinders, so we'll get them against the missile group, get them to close and engage. The final remaining Tupolev here is looks like it's really going quite quickly, trying to evade an incoming missile, an AMRAAM missile, and we'll see whether it is successful. And it isn't. That's now 17 aircraft out of our tally with that latest Tu-22 downed. We've got 3 aircraft to go before we reach our objective of destroying at least 20 enemy aircraft, and of course Runneby Airport must survive, which we are so far successful at, but I am worried about this missile contact because we don't we are a little bit vulnerable to these inbound missiles. If they overwhelm our defences, they've already seemed to have gotten through the fighters. We've got the surface action group now launching its SM2s, but it's down to 4 missiles remaining, 3 missiles remaining for the SM2s. So of course we're really relying heavily on them. Okay, we've to the north we've shot down a Kamov Ka-27 with a helicopter down, and we've expended all of the SM2s from the surface action group, which remains. It has ESSMs for its own defence, but they are probably going to be out of range for the Kent C missiles, and therefore Runneby, if we don't shoot down the remaining missiles, then Runneby is really relying on its AMRAAMs, being its NASAMS missiles that are in local defence to protect it. Okay, so otherwise the air plot still looks pretty clear. We'll have a look at our remaining Gripen here. We'll check that it's got its radar on. Okay, so it should be able to detect anything. The Helsingborg, the Visby class corvette, Yep, it's down to essentially local defence and subsurface defence. We do have some aircraft that look to be ready to launch from Stockholm, and almost 1 minute 50 in about 13-14 minutes for the remaining Gripen. So we could launch them fairly quickly if we want to. Okay. We've got 20 minutes or so, 20-25 minutes before we can launch the next aircraft out of Ronneby, so that's not going to be very helpful against the Kent Sea missiles. Luckily these RIM 66 MR2s are having a pretty good effect. And let's track this group. Yep. Okay, it looks like they've dropped 3 missiles out of the group and they're down to 7. This is looking fairly comforting. Down to 6. Six missiles remaining in the group. Okay, that's down to 4. Okay, so they're now down to 4, and 4 missiles inbound. We are pretty much out of missiles on our aircraft in the location. Same with this group. Have got 4 sidewinders, so we'll get them going after the missile group. Hopefully they get 4 kills out of that. We'll maybe increase their speed so they can get into pursuit. And they'll have to close that distance quickly before they run out of fuel, get to bingo fuel. Okay, so we're up to 17 aircraft. We've got 17 aircraft that we need to destroy. And as you can see, we knocked down a Kamov and the Tu-22 recently. We've got this Gripen here with 2 AMRAAMs doing a bit of an air picket to the north of the Baltic Sea, keeping an overwatch of the Kuznetsov group as it comes out of the Gulf of Finland. Ronneby Air Base is not going to be much help in terms of launching. We might speed up time a little bit, see how things develop. Okay, we've got another detection of an air group to the east of the Kuznetsov. But we can now launch some fighters out of Stockholm. So we'll take a couple of pairs of fighters and launch these out to the east. And we've got about half an hour to go before these other Gripens are going to be ready to launch from Stockholm. So that's a real gap in our ability to do flight operations, especially as we're getting a whole bunch of new fixed-wing aircraft detections coming in from the east. Looks like they're brazenly overflying Estonia. Some of these sidewinders have gone out and appear to have achieved some success. We're down to now 1 inbound missile out of what was originally at least 10 of them, launched from one of the Tupolev Tu-22s. Have a look at the ESSMs, not quite within range yet, but they may cross the range of the ESSMs. We might get fortunate with that and be able to down it from the surface action group. We also have 1 more sidewinder remaining. So in this group, so we'll get the final sidewinder to target that final missile and see how we go with that. We'll push this aircraft to the southeast, try to keep it out of the SAM range of the Kuznetsov, and move these other aircraft into screening positions. Yeah, okay. And you can see the surface-to-air missile has launched from the Kuznetsov against our Gripens, which is unfortunate. I was trying to avoid that. Nonetheless, it's happened. Okay, we'll speed up time a bit to see how this develops. Okay, tracking the... We've got the aircraft going off to the east-southeast. And this Gripen trying to evade the inbound anti-air weapon is now running out of fuel and heading back to the refueling aircraft. We'll see if it makes it. And it doesn't. Unfortunately, it's shot down as well. We still have this aircraft here with 2 AMRAAMs. We'll get it going to the southeast to try and intercept these fighters coming in. Sorry, not this group, this group. Okay, we've got this air superiority. He's got 1 sidewinder left. Yep, we really want it to be going after that missile. We'll have a look at are we within ESSM range? Not quite yet for the surface action group, but it looks like we may get lucky with that. Speed up time a little bit to see how this air threat from the east is developing. Okay, we've got more surface-to-air missiles coming out of the Kuznetsov, and that's telling us that we really need to avoid putting our aircraft too far to the east of Stockholm, because they're now vulnerable and they're within that surface-to-air missile bubble from the Kuznetsov group. And unfortunately, we've lost another Gripen to that air threat. And we can see here the surface action group is launching ESSM against the remaining Kent C missile. And this is the threat to Ronneby. Okay, well, I need to launch a few more. It's still crossing that tangent of our anti-air bubble, so if we can engage that successfully, that would be a great outcome. Okay, up to the north there doesn't seem to be much development in the air situation. We've got a couple of enhanced Sea Sparrow missiles now tracking in on the enemy missiles launched from the Tupolev towards Ronneby Airport. And success. It looks like we've knocked down the last of those missiles, which is great news because that eliminates the threat to Ronneby Air Base, which achieves one of our objectives of ensuring that Ronneby Air Base survives. We'll get this Gripen to turn on its radar, its Raven, make sure we've got good situational awareness. We've almost achieved our objective of shooting down 20 enemy aircraft in this scenario. So the enemy's obligingly sending us a very target-rich environment coming in from the northeast. So our task, it would seem, would be to, okay, with these Gripen, well, one of them's about to ready to launch in about 3 or 4 minutes, the others are 20 minutes out. So we need to knock down at least 3 of these inbound aircraft to be able to achieve our objectives. Yep, unfortunately we've lost a Gripen to running out of fuel. Never an ideal outcome when it's lost to fuel loss. Or for any cause, of course, but that's a particularly galling reason to lose an aircraft. Okay, we've lost all these aircraft off the plot, not quite sure what is happening there, so we'll turn on the Raven of this Gripen. It's of course at risk of a surface-to-air missile launch, but we really need to detect where those aircraft are at the moment. We'll get this one to increase its height and see what it can detect at a slightly increased height. Same with this one, increased to medium height. Okay, now we've got the we've now been able to detect these aircraft again. We'll target this group with some AMRAAMs from the Gripen. And the airfight is definitely developing to the east of Stockholm. Okay, a number of detections. We're now detecting a lot of these aircraft. There's another one just in the opening to the Baltic Sea here. Engaging this one with AMRAAM as well. And we'll see, this looks like a group of 2 detected but not identified hostile aircraft. Okay, another detection of fixed-wing aircraft, so there's certainly a few of them there. And they've been identified now as Sukhoi T-50s, T-50As though. And we've knocked down 1, which brings our tally to 18 out of 20 aircraft that we need to complete the scenario. And the second aircraft in that formation is also shot down, making our tally 19 aircraft. It has, however, launched anti-air weapon against us. And we'll move these Gripen to the east to see if we can engage other air targets. This Gripen, one is evading a missile, the other one, however, is ready to launch against this air group. We've got 2 missiles out, and if we get a strike against these MiG-29Ks, that will bring the scenario to a close, as we will have achieved our objective of shooting down 20 enemy aircraft and protecting Ronneby Air Base. So here's one of the MiG-29s. And if we down this, we've certainly protected Stockholm as well, and its well-known home decor retailing empire. And there we go, we've shot down the MiG-29K. So that means we've shot down 25 aircraft and destroyed 1 surface ship for the loss of 12 aircraft on our side, and achieved our objective of protecting Ronneby Airport, which is a fairly decent result all around. So as always, thanks for watching. For more Naval War Arctic Circle content, check out the NATO campaign and Jersey blockade playlists on our channel. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.